Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS. In the last episode, Takumi had tried to get his own back on his sister Nanami by going ahead with his plan to make her call the mysterious phone number with that rather bizarre message. Unfortunately, Takumi's plan backfired when Nanami revealed that the number was no longer in service. Though, as far as Takumi is concerned, it's pretty much 1-1 at this point. But that brings us to Takumi's favorite hangout of Mangadarake, which he has been looking forward to on this day. And with this artist, I'm just going to go in the usual fashion. So I'll say Marasema Azuma was a really famous artist, and long snaking lines invariably formed at all of the events his doujin circle participated in. The Bloodshun doujin he released this summer had sold out in the blink of an eye. I wanted to go myself, but market events were all alike in being packed with people, making it impossible for me. It made me cry inside, but I had to give up. Which is a real shame. Which basically means that Takumi can't even go to his favorite venues without crowds of people ruining his day. I'd been naive to think that it would be okay, since stores like Mangadarake would sell some on consignment. Sure enough, they had it for sale, but it had all but disappeared instantaneously. As they say, the early bird does indeed get the worm. Or in this case, the manga. In online auctions, it came at a premier price, around tens of thousands of yen. Fucking scalpers. I actually agree with you entirely with that sentiment. In fact, yeah, there have been quite a few cases where special items have come out on pre-order only for them to be snapped up and resold for much higher cost. In any case, with things looking like this, I figured it was probably impossible for me to get my hands on it. But yesterday I happened to see it mentioned on Ad Channel that Mangadarake had recently restocked its new publication. Well, let's just hope that holds out. Which led to my heading over there immediately. Hopefully nobody else snapping up the rest of the publication.
神様、奇跡を起こしたまえ。
After praying to the heavens unbeknownst to anyone, I stormed into the store, which seems fairly quiet. Luckily for Takumi, I kept my eyes peeled and searched the doujinshi corner. I made countless round trips and looked again and again, just in case. But I couldn't find it. So disappointing. Alas, your miracle did not come through. Maybe it had already sold out. Maybe it has. I mindlessly surveyed the register. The cashier was a girl. She wasn't that cute, but she seemed friendly enough. Maybe friendly enough to deal with customers, at least. I'd never used a super high level technique like asking a clerk if a product was in stock, not even once. Well, there's always a first time for everything. The reason, of course, was because I didn't have the guts to. At least Takumi's honest on that particular front. Not to mention the fact that Marasema Azuma's new work was entitled Serotan Goes Wild with Cosplay. Totally impossible. Yeah, that would be awkward. Excuse me, do you have Serotan Goes Wild with Cosplay by Marasema Azuma? I am probably saying it wrong, at least from my perspective, but anyway. If I asked a female clerk something like that, No matter how I look at it, you're a perv. Thank you very much for coming. In the end, I quickly gave up on asking the clerk and left the store in dejection. Alas.
はあ、帰るか。
Well, that afternoon definitely passed by in the blink of an eye. Or maybe I'd go to our cafe. As I walked on, torn, a familiar sword grazed the edge of my field of vision. With a unique shape and forked blade, it had been the one girl B, Senna, she called herself, had been walking around with before. So Senna's still patrolling the streets of Shibuya. In the midst of the crowded shopping district, I saw that the tip of the sword had stick out above the heads of the people going along the street. Because she was coming this way, I hastily retreated into a nearby arcade. Well, let's just hope she didn't see you, 'cause if she did, it would be bad. When I hid away in the shadows and peeped out to see what was happening, Senna herself soon appeared, with her sword resting on her shoulder, although of course nobody else but Takumi can currently see it. Wearing the same frightening face as ever, she swiftly made for the station. Also, because nobody else can actually see that sword, they're going to be wondering, unless they're not wondering, just why exactly her arm is walking around with a girl with one hand on her hip and the other arm raised, holding absolutely nothing. Whatever the case, she doesn't seem to have noticed that I was there. Probably for the best. Even so, I had to admire how unapologetically she walked, because I had also undergone the humiliation of going around with a D-sword in hand. Wasn't she mortified to be carrying such a huge sword? Rather, the police must have taken her in for questioning at least once, no doubt about it. So Takumi has already forgotten Senna's words regarding her D-sword. As I continued that train of thought, Senna's form went steadily into the distance. Where did they sell badass D-swords like the one she had? Not at the place where you bought that dinky second-hand piece, that's for sure. Personally, I wasn't that satisfied with the one I'd acquired, which didn't have a cool shape or radiate light. Senna's sword, in comparison, demonstrated fascinatingly good design sense. I got my hands on a D-sword in the hopes of using it as a kind of protective charm. At the time, trembling in fear, I'd sought a means of support for my heart. I was a little more stable now after the stuff with Remy, but despite that, the situation surrounding me hadn't undergone much improvement. I still had many enemies, like Shogun and Yua. It was precisely because of this that I possessed the desire to obtain a much stronger looking D-sword. Well, to that I can only say good luck with that. Of course, it was also due in part to my collector's mentality as an otaku, but drawn along the side of along by the side of Denna's C sword, or Senna's D sword, sorry, getting my letters mixed up there. I floated all the way to the pedestrian scramble before I realized what I was doing. Crap, I thought, biting my lip. I hadn't wanted to come to the plaza, yet here we are. I reluctantly went to the shopping district in school because I had things to accomplish there, but insofar as it was possible, I wanted to avoid going near them. Where there were tons of people I didn't know standing around me like this, it gave me the hallucination that all my escape routes had been stolen, and it became hard for me to keep breathing. As expected, the station plaza was full of people today as well, which means that Takumi's panic attacks are once again going to go into overdrive, alas. Feeling sicker and sicker, I hunched over for a little while, holding in my nausea. Because of that, the next time I'd raised my face, I lost sight of that eye-catching D-sword. It looked as though she had walked in the direction of the Hachiko statue, but right then, the lights of the scramble crossing turned green, and all the pedestrians started milling out. Huge numbers of people rushed into the crossing in all directions. It became a little chaotic. I thought it was kind of amazing that all these people could go in whichever direction they wanted without bumping into each other, probably because some are going forward and others are going diagonally. Seeing this, I became well aware of how unrealistic my delusion of the empty pedestrian scramble had been, the one from 2 days ago, the one in which we actually encountered Shogun for the first time. It might be the case that over the course of a whole year, there wasn't 1 second of time when this place became vacant. Besides, what had I intended to accomplish by chasing after Senna? That is a very good question. I couldn't so much as do so much as ask a Mangadarake clerk about whether a product was in stock, much less start up a conversation with that unsociable and scary-looking Senna. Besides, she might be my enemy. Hmm, I wonder about that. I had no idea what could end up happening to me if I merrily trailed after someone like her defenseless. What was wrong with me? I better go back. That's probably a good idea. When, having come to that decision, I started to turn on my heel, I noticed a white chain lying on the pavement. Plus, though people's legs concealed the place it led to, it seemed to extend from almost exactly where I was standing to the opposite side of the pedestrian scramble. What could it be? Hmm, probably nothing good. It was a remarkably long chain. Was it being used in some sort of construction? I don't think they use chains like this for construction purposes there, Takumi. But I couldn't detect any other traces of construction work. I didn't think they'd leave just this one chain lying around. A prop from a location shoot for a movie or a TV drama? No, they couldn't use it for that at a time when there were so many people here. If so, had someone thrown it away? A chain that is so long? It'd be hard enough to simply bring it here. Whatever the answer, was definitely going to impede the progress of the cars and pedestrians, except, of course, for the fact that Takumi hasn't noticed that nobody else is paying attention to the chain. They're just treating it as if it were normal. Or maybe he obviously is going to find out anyway. I craned my neck to see how those around me were reacting. I thought it would be dangerous if someone happened to trip over it, but I didn't see a single person paying the slightest attention to it. Again, ominous. Maybe my eyes were playing a trick on me as I figured. So I rubbed them once before, so I rubbed them before squinting at it anew, but the chain was lying there, as I thought before. Also, it was too eerie for me to work up the courage to touch it. Rather than being cheapest looking and made from plastic, it was a very sturdy looking type of metal, or metal type. I wondered how long it had been left alone here. Well, it definitely leads somewhere, and we're going to have to follow it. If things were the same as usual, I would have thought of this as being some form of trap. I would have fled in fear at the thought of it. Maybe, at the end of the chain, something horrifying was lying in wait for me. But for some reason, my current self was helplessly interested in where this chain led and what it was connected to. My heart was controlled by the mysterious illusion that I needed to trace my way along it. Jostling against passers-by again and again, I crossed the pedestrian scramble before the signal turned red. The chain continued toward an old, deep green streetcar that had been set a little to the side of the Hachiko statue, again with tons of people walking here, there, and everywhere. Of course, what is actually inside this particular streetcar will have to remain a mystery until the next episode of Let's Play Chaos Head. So when we return, adventurers, well, we'll just have to build up our courage and see just exactly what is inside this curious-looking streetcar in the middle of Shibuya. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.